Welcome to another episode of the Boundary Breakers Collective. And I am here with Dr. Giulia Tufaro, an expert in strategic philanthropy. As founder and chief strategic impact officer of Philanthropy, Renactimento, Giulia helps nonprofits and companies partner for greater social goods. Through her Rome-based firm, she provides consultancy and technical solutions to amplify philanthropic efforts. Giulia is passionate about designing solutions where partnerships drive meaningful, lasting impact. And I'm so eager to learn from your expertise in maximizing social potential through collaboration, Giulia. A warm welcome to this show. I am so happy to be here with you, and I'm so looking forward to learn from you. So my first question always is, what is it that makes you a boundary breaker?
Thank you for the question, Helena, and thank you for the invitation to your podcast. What a lovely introduction. Thank you very much. And let me say, as a first, I really love the name Boundary Breaker. I do believe I am a boundary breaker. I think I fit into this category very well. So I love the term, and I consider myself as a boundary breaker because I empower philanthropy leaders to navigate, to sail somehow the complexities of strategic philanthropy. I love to help them push beyond traditional methods to create what I call lasting impact or their legacy. And my innovative approach connects nonprofits to big companies or corporations challenging the status quo. I make sure that the contributions we help facilitate lead to real community growth. That is something that it is dear to my heart. And I think that by facilitating these collaborations and integrating technology, I break down those barriers. And the barriers are between sectors, sometimes the barrier are across borders. And when I talk about technology, sometimes I talk about complex technology, or sometimes I talk about very simple technology, but I think it is required in this domain of strategic philanthropy.
Giulia, during the preparation, you wrote here, like growing up in Italy, philanthropy was embedded in our daily life, like going to church, volunteering, belonging to a community where giving back was second nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And yet, not everybody that grew up in Italy where philanthropy was embedded in their daily life end up to become somebody who is intentionally creating structures and making it like a mission, a professional mission in life. So why are you doing that? What is behind this?
I was actually thinking of it, not only today, of course, but when I created this company, when I created this brand, I was actually thinking of it very intentionally. And I think that behind this is really the desire of a child to be helpful somehow. I was adopted by my community, actually. And I was helped in so many ways. And I was lucky enough to witness so many charitable acts and volunteering activities made for the greater good of the community. And so I think that at the heart of everything is really the desire of a child to give back. It made me feel, yeah, being part of such an amazing an adoption, it helped me feel good. It helped me feel like I'm part of something. And I always think of those charities and founders of nonprofits, and I see them struggle sometimes with being part of something. And so I relate to that feeling. And so it at the foundation, at the core of everything, I think is that feeling of a child to give back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful principle. It's one that I would love to see a lot more in our worlds. Because in order to give and to give back, it's also important that you are open and that you live from a philosophy of abundance. Because if you feel that you don't have enough, it's not possible to give, right? And there's a lot of people that are in this protection mode. They are in this scarcity mode, like there's not enough to give, there's not enough for me, so I will keep what I have and sometimes even protect it. That's why we have so many conflicts. So how do you keep that mindset of abundance and giving alive, even when things go tough?
I have to say that for me, it was a journey. I can't say that from the very beginning, I adopted this core belief about giving. You give in order to receive, right? But it is true, actually, what you just said. It is true. You have to have that feeling of abundance. You have to embrace gratefulness in your life in order to be able to give. And this is, of course, as an individual, and this can be as a company. If you focus only on profit, it is a little bit difficult to feel abundant, to feel like you can give back to the community. So I've seen a lot of companies doing it for communication, for good marketing, for activities for their employees, but not for the sake of really helping the community. But
Yeah.
in my case, I think it was a journey. And I was actually laughing a couple of days ago with a friend, and I said it took me 15 years to actually create this company. Sometimes I learned this feeling or this approach from my mentors and coach and people around me, up to the point where I started to believe it is at the core of a successful life, or a more satisfactory life, let's say, and a successful business. I do believe that you have to give in order to receive. And that, at least in my life, it brings a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah. I love that. It's beautiful. My three principles also are abundance, gratitude, and generosity. And I would say I would like to add also reciprocity. And I do believe I just finished writing a book. This is my book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called It's Your Turn. And basically it is a script to escape societal boxes and manifest your true greatness as a woman. And what is very important that is also in the book and that is also documented by women that I have interviewed is that our definition of success is sometimes very limited. We think success as something like we have a big house or we do world trips regularly or we have an amazing career and we have a lot of money on the bank. And so these are relevant elements of success, but they're very much focused on who you are as a person. And I believe my invitation and what you are doing in reality is that you take success a lot bigger. You take it larger than yourself. Success for you is being able to doing something for the community, being able to take it further and to also bring other people with you in creating that awareness and also creating the possibility to give through your foundation, through your activities. I think that's a beautiful thing to do. And you say it took me 15 years. So what was the shift there? What made things like accelerate?
Mm-hmm. I think the journey of entrepreneurship started for me when I was very young. So I was in my 30s, coming from a background in sales and marketing. So I didn't know much about philanthropy other than my personal experiences. And so I think I had to learn a lot about entrepreneurship before I was able to found the company that I would actually lead for the next 40, 50 years to 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 give it to the next generation and to actually consider that is my legacy. So I think that the sparkle started when I was very little, actually, but I wasn't able to recognize it until a couple of I experienced a couple of major changes in my life. I know we mentioned a few weeks earlier in a conversation the fact that I had to relocate and I had to get back to some of my origins in order to actually liberate somehow this potential, right? But as I was saying, it sparkled when I was very little in school. I think it started as an idea and experiences I can mention here. And I think they were quite pivotal, but I wasn't able to actually recognize them as pivotal until a few years ago. And one experience was in school. I think I was 9, perhaps 9 or 10. And in my classroom, I shared my desk with a girl with a disability. And I witnessed firsthand the difficulties on one hand of the disabled kid, of the disabled girl in class with me. And on the other hand, I witnessed the facilitator helping her. I witnessed the impact it had on her ability to learn, her ability to experience a normal life with us in the classroom. And I think that was the very first experience, the very early experience that really shaped my understanding of what kind of facets can have philanthropy. So it was volunteering, it was adopting this girl in our classroom and making her feel at home and living close to normal kind of experience with us. And then I had a friend when I was a teenager. I had a friend with a sister in a wheelchair. And again, I witnessed in that case the help of the community, because in the center of our city, there was a Casa Familia, as we call this kind of facilities. It was a facility where the disabled kids and their families used to go there to receive all sorts of support, from therapy to whatever they needed, money or contacts or even someone to talk with, to feel like you are part of something. And so again, I witnessed what it means to receive that kind of support from the community, how it makes you feel. And I considered myself as part of that family at that time. I was very close to my friend and her mother and her sister and all the relatives. And so, as a family member, an adopted one, I witnessed what it meant for that family to actually receive that kind of support from the community. When I was already a young adult in my 30s, there I witnessed like a local business fund a community initiative, not just for an immediate benefit like communication, as I said, but for the long-term impact it created. So they gave resources, they gave their time. I think that Philanthropy Renactimento embeds also this part of the experience with the business, because I saw the business thriving because of the support that they gave to this community initiative. So these three major experiences, I think they really shaped the form of this company since I was very little. Of course, again, it took me a while to get to the final concept, the real company that is now on the market and is creating the we are working on projects where we match nonprofits and corporate. But again, it started when I was very little. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Something that comes up when I listen to these three different moments or events is it's very much related also with inclusion, with terminology that we use in corporate life a lot in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I think that beautifully also expresses how organizations that are focused on that internally within their own structure can take that broader and can do something similar through your philanthropic initiatives and other initiatives to basically expand that inclusivity and this work in order to allow other people that are not privileged, that sometimes are underrepresented, to fully or at least more actively be involved in a lot of things that maybe they would not have an opportunity to do so if they were not supported by your work or similar work, right? Yeah.
Indeed. That's also one of the reasons I adopted three major causes. So I like to work in these three major domains when I work with organizations, nonprofit organization, which is education and technology and neurodiversity. I think that neurodiversity is a huge domain where diversity and equity and inclusion is we still have a long way to go to really achieve inclusion in this macro category. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so for you, how was it because you said before you were in sales and marketing, I guess you were in corporate life then, to make that step to entrepreneur, because there's one thing that you have a cause and that you want to be involved in philanthropy. Another one is to start up your business around that, because there's other ways to do that. So what gave you this power and this conviction in order to set up your business and say, okay, I'm going to do this my way, my strategy, my divine intervention?
Yeah. I opened my first company when I was 30, so almost 15 years ago. And I really loved this area of sales and marketing. And so at one point I launched as an idea, it was just an idea, an accelerator for nonprofits to teach them skills from digital sales and digital marketing in order to be able to survive during the COVID, to be able to fundraise online, to be able to fund their initiatives through digital marketing initiatives or those kind of things. And it started as an idea with a Brazilian friend, Shana, and we started delivering this accelerator online. And I was doing on the side work, as you said, I was volunteering and I was helping with a lot of consultancy, fundraising departments and nonprofit organizations, not only in Italy, but also in Romania, in Spain, across borders, as I said. I think after the COVID, I started to actually recognize that it's not enough to work for profit. I really have to say it as it is. It's not enough. It wasn't enough for me, at least. I was making a profit, but I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't feeling like I'm making a lasting impact. And the pivotal moment was we end up the pandemic. We end up how is it called it, when you have to stay at home during the COVID. We finished that. And with my nephew, and he was 9 at the time, we prepared like a big board with a thank you message and his hand painted with some like hello messages to, and we went to visit a non-profit organization in the city where I was living at the time with my nephew. And I saw the impact it has on him, the questions he asked, the feeling I witnessed on his face, and his whole body was different. When we went there and we went home, he was so excited. And I sometimes he's not conscious thinking of those changes, but it starts and it's like a sparkle, it's like an aha moment, it's like an insight.
Yeah.
And going back home, I wish I would have more impact here. Not really on the non-profit and just non-profit, but the future generations. I wish I have a business that I can give him that has an impact on this kind of organizations. And I wish when he will become an entrepreneur, maybe because he doesn't want my business, but because he wants his own business, maybe he would adopt a non-profit organization from the very early stages. I truly believe, and I share this other times since we last spoke, I truly believe that every business should adopt a non-profit organization since the early stages. And yeah, that was my experience. And so the skills in sales and marketing, now they go all into Philanthropy Renactimento. I've built a community around this concept. It's true, when you are on, I don't want to call it true path, but a path that is more fulfilling, a path where you truly believe you can leave a legacy, you start to attract everything that you need, and even skills that you don't have. You either attract people that will help you with those skills, or you are eager to learn. Actually, I am in a new phase of my life, because in my 40s now, I am like going to school again. I'm eager to learn everything that I don't know. And it's a new stage, yeah? And I feel like I'm building on top of the last phase of my life. And it's a lot more fulfilling, I have to say. Yeah.
I can only imagine. And yeah, we can learn as long as we want to. There is brain plasticity as a concept that is research based and generally accepted now. So we are always in the possibility to learn. And if you have this mission clear, if you have this vision, then it is not an effort. It is not a discomfort because it is basically serving your cause. And so you find the energy and the enthusiasm to do that. So it's, yeah, it's amazing to hear that. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And when I hear the story about your nephew, it makes me think as you gave him the experience that you had yourself in terms of
Indeed, indeed.
experiencing what it is to
Yeah,
live in a spirit and in a setting of generosity and philanthropy. I think that's a very beautiful gift that you gave your nephew,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And actually, with your work, you also give that gift to other to organizations and to their teams. So, how do you feel if you look at organizations, the corporates that you work with? How do you see there that the owners or the CEOs and their teams are
Mm,
inspired by this kind of work? How you can you tell us a little bit more
yeah,
about that?
yeah. So I truly believe that strategic philanthropy is a conversation for the board member of a company, or a board member of a company. So it should happen at board meetings, and it should be a continuous conversation. The effects I see on those involved with philanthropy, they can be directors of companies or simple employees. It is a level of true understanding of what's life about, and the fact that and somehow it sparkles that feels of belonging, right? We live in an era where individuality is so extended and so heavy, and I believe as humans, we crave belonging. We crave that feeling of being part of something meaningful. And so this is the what I witness when I am able to actually discuss with them the meaning of strategic philanthropy, what it means for the future generations, what it means for a company to actually be involved with strategic philanthropy. I see a shift and I see satisfaction. I see a deep understanding. It's not easy, I have to say, Helena, and that's also the reason we spend so much into researching the link between corporate philanthropy and revenue growth or talent attraction or employee satisfaction, the brand reputation. We interview a lot of people around those topics in order to have factual data or in order to bring to the table a little bit of science to prove our point. And it's not an easy conversation to have. And while in the beginning the conversation started with the non-profits, and we were trying to make the non-profits change and the non-profit upgrade their level of communication and their tools around measuring the impact. And it's been a couple of years. We have our focus on the companies and how the companies can lead the way, and how companies should actually adopt and get involved more in this area of corporate philanthropy. And let me just mention this because I'm very proud. Next year, I will release a book about philanthropy path to revenue growth. And this is based, as you did it yourself, and you know how important it is to actually research and interview people around this. And I think, and just to close my thought process here, I believe that philanthropy can be used as a business tool and can enhance greatly a company's reputation. And by doing that, a company can actually guarantee long-lasting impact, long-lasting distance, and being on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe that if organizations are genuinely purpose focused and not do this only for the marketing, that is, it's also important and relevant, we cannot deny that. But if this is something that is a really conscious choice, I do believe that they build also a reputation not only externally but also internally, because they show also their own people that they care and that they are focused on the greater good. Absolutely. And then building these long-lasting relationships with the non-for-profits that they like partner
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
I can only imagine how many opportunities that can bring. If you are a bit creative and open and curious, there must be like a zillion opportunities to exchange knowledge and expertise. And is that your experience? Is that something that you can like document with some examples or?
I can say this about it. Non-profit founders and those working in this domain of charitable activity, they are so resilient, they are so creative, they had to survive for years and years. They are still surviving. So they are creative, they are resilient, they are innovators, they adapt easily. So for companies to partner with this kind of organization is a plus, right? Because you partner up with a valuable partner which can bring you a lot of in return, a lot of innovation, a lot of resilience, a lot of contacts. And there's been hundreds of cases of success. Actually, if you read some articles in the Impact Renactimento magazine, especially the last edition we published here in October, one lady, Katia Saro, she mentioned so many of those successful partnerships, like IKEA, the big company, partnered with many non-profit organizations on meaningful campaigns. Lavazza, another Italian company, partnered with La Casa Famiglia and other organizations, local and at an international level. We've seen, when I started to research, I was actually amazed that I received so much validation about my theory, because I said, okay, so now I can bring lots of examples with me when I discuss this. Of course, to those who are willing to listen, because I also find cases where they are not there to listen, they are just there to actually push away of an approach to philanthropy. Yeah? But for those who are eager to listen, I not only bring my own experience and my knowledge, I bring the experience of those who interact with us, who release interviews, who publish on our magazines. And my whole purpose with the magazine is really just to collect stories, is really just to bring know-how to the market, because I don't know everything or enough of this. I'm willing to share the stage with those that know more in terms of tools, strategies, in terms of success cases. I'm eager to bring them with me in those boardrooms and to those board meetings to really discuss strategic philanthropy and what it means not only for us, but for the future generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, for my nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giulia, you are a female entrepreneur. Everybody who knows me knows that I work with women and that I'm a very big fan of women empowerment or repowerment, as one of my dear friends, Dion Johnson, calls it. When you look at philanthropy and doing business with a purpose, would you say that this is something that you see more feminine entrepreneurs do than masculine ones and men? Or is that like something where you don't see any difference?
I have to say that I see more women in roles connected with philanthropy I would say at the operational level. I see lots of men connected with philanthropy that are investors in impactful initiatives, that they are strategists, that they understand how to use it as a strategic tool. But I do believe that philanthropy is connected with feminine leadership. And what I mean by that is not like a female leader, but is more a leadership that embeds masculine and feminine qualities at the same level. And there's a friend of mine, that Wana, that she speaks a lot about feminine leadership. And those qualities that she mentioned in the feminine part of the leadership is empathy, care, softness. And I think that because we are born this way, we go along easier, just because we have this in our core as female, right? Yeah, but I do believe philanthropy is a space for both of them, but they play different roles.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And I think especially if you put it at a level where you are talking about strategic philanthropy, it's important to have all leadership qualities integrated, and the feminine ones where you mention empathy and kindness and care and community and support are extremely important. And then, of course, again, there's the manifestation to make it happen, to have processes and systems in place in order to make it efficient and effective. So I think it's indeed a beautiful combination of the different leadership features that can be so beautiful interwoven in one person. It's not about the man or the woman, it's about the qualities and how we label them. But yes, indeed, I can see, like you say, how for women it's like a more natural thing in order to be in the operations of that. Yes, yeah. But then you get a level higher with your business and with the more strategic approach to it. Yeah. So was it easy for you to add that also to the equation? The
Not
more
really, I have to
masculine
say.
way of business in order to
It wasn't easy. I am lucky enough to have a partner, and I discuss a lot of business matters with him. And I think he brings a little bit of this masculinity and strategic thinking and pragmatism to the equation. I also believe that my previous years in marketing and sales, it was all about processes and all about strategic thinking in terms of planning ahead the actions that will help us achieve the results we wanted for our clients. So a little bit comes from it. It's not easy because, or maybe it depends who I work with, because when I work with non-profit organizations, those qualities, those feminine qualities are very natural. But when I interact with like the people I work with, we are very focused on goals and processes and project management. And so I think that it depends on the kind of conversation I bring to the table, the qualities that are required. But in my personal life, as now I truly believe I am in my feminine side, I am in my feminine leadership qualities more. I do have the help of my partners, which brings that other part. And not only my life partner, but also business partners, people I interact with. I always try to gain what I don't have. I am a thief of know-how, a thief of abilities.
Yeah. So basically, it's what you develop on two levels. It's like activating your own masculine qualities as a complement to what you already bring to the table. And then make sure you have your community of support that is bringing you all what you need in terms of quality and capabilities and capacity in order to be successful as a leader. And that is beautiful. That is a very smart way to do business in a sustainable way. So Giulia, if you would give advice to women that are listening or that are watching this talk show and that are on the verge of changing something in their lives, that are looking to be more contributing to the bigger good, what would be your best advice to give them?
It must be easy and something that it's really close to your heart. So if you want to get involved with a volunteering activity or to share one of your skills, like you really are good in communication, for example, and you want to put that 1 or 2 hours per week to the use of the nonprofit, I think it should make you feel good. And if possible, if you would do it with ease, I think that's the way to go. I saw a lot of individuals getting caught on activities that are bigger than them, and they do it because they have to at one point, and it's not what philanthropy is about. Philanthropy, I think, is about transformation. So when you do a charitable act, or you try to help, even it doesn't have to be a non-profit organization. You can help your community, your neighborhood, someone in your work environment. It's a charitable act, and it has to give you satisfaction. It has to make you feel good. And that's the only reason you should do it. That is what really brings you the transformation you're looking for. And if I look at my life, my personal life, I wasn't able to gain that feeling of total satisfaction until I, as a person, was in a good place. You said it previously. You have to live in a place of abundance to be able to give others and give it from a filled cup. How do you say it? From a floating cup? Like you have to feel good, very abundant in order to be able to give others your help, your time, your energy, and have satisfaction in return of that action. Yeah. So get involved, but get involved, yeah, to for your own feeling, for your own love of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a boost. Absolutely. Beautiful.
Indeed.
Giulia, I want to thank you for what you do and for the work you do, because it is so important to have these role models like you in order to walk with us, but also walk in front of us to guide the way of what is possible in purpose-driven organizations, and I would say in purpose-driven lives in general. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for sharing this with us here on the Boundary Breakers Collective. I'm sure that people will be interested to dig a little bit deeper. I make sure that your contact information is also here available, so people can follow you, can connect with you, can read your magazine, and really experience and read the stories that are available and that are so heartwarming. I am sure about that. So thank you so much for being here with us and for sharing your story and for being a boundary breaker. That's just amazing.
And thank you for the lovely conversation, Helena. It's been amazing to spend this time with you and talk about something that is very close to my heart. Thank you to those listening to the podcast and your amazing community. And congrats for the work you are doing in your domain of expertise. And I hope you have the strength to do it for many years. And I just want to leave with a short phrase to close, that I truly believe is powerful. And this is philanthropy is like a boomerang. I truly believe in this. What you give often returns to you in unexpected ways. So thank you again for the conversation.
Thank you so much, Giulia. And that's a wonderful closure.